Namaste. My name is Shayan, and I am speaking to you from my living room on a cold, cold March afternoon in Isafjordur in the Westfjords of Iceland, the furthest north, furthest west part of this tiny little block of ice that I call home. I moved to Iceland in 2019 to marry my husband, whom I had met when we were both living in New York in 2016, and it took him 3 long years to convince me to move here, but it's the best decision I ever made. It has been 3 years since I moved to Isafjordur, and it is a beautiful town and a wonderful community. And one of the things that I have been lucky to discover is that they seem to love Indian food. I found that people are very curious about the fact that I'm from India and very interested in discussing stories of our country, our heritage, our culture, our food. I found that they have a vested interest in finding out about people that are a little bit different from themselves and who bring something else to the table, in my case, quite literally. The idea in its inception was my husband's idea to serve Indian food to the community instead of just to our family. And I started cooking Indian food in 2016. I'm very lucky in that my husband and I both work at his family's restaurant, which gave me a platform from which I could really launch this project. And it's been a really fun adventure to be able to cook Indian food for the Isafjordur community. And 3 years in, it has become something that they expect from us at the restaurant, to serve Indian food in our off season, which is winter, because the restaurant is only open as its own iteration in the summer. And I've been very lucky that people have wanted Indian food for events, for parties, for special occasions, for celebrations. I feel that it's wonderful to be able to share both my culture and my story with my new community and be able to contribute to them in a way that is both valuable and tasty. I make ghar ka khana, so the recipes that I have developed here are recipes that are near and dear to my heart, near and dear to my kitchen at home, near and dear to my family, and also very, very familiar. But I have absolutely had to adapt my recipes for several reasons. The main reason is just not being able to get all of the ingredients that I necessarily need at my fingertips and having to adapt with what I have available here. But also, I don't think that the Icelandic palate is quite as used to spice the way that the Indian palate is. So I do tamp down my recipes so that people can just enjoy their food instead of feeling like their mouths are on fire. But I will say, if my father tasted my vindaloo here, which is possibly the spiciest thing I cook here, he would probably turn to me and say, "Have you made jam?" It is probably a better idea to tamp down the recipes to suit the palate of my local community than try to force something that they might not necessarily enjoy while trying to keep it to its original. So to be able to open myself to the community and have them get to know me through my food, I think is very important to me. And absolutely, we gear much more to locals than to tourists. One of the big reasons for that is because I almost exclusively do this, which we call tiffin at Tjöruhúsið, in the winter, in the off-tourist months. But one of the things that we have also been able to layer into my cooking Indian food is to cook and package chutneys and to sell those to people who might not want a meal or might not want to eat Indian food right then, but would like to have a little taste of India in their fridges or in their kitchen. So perhaps this is something that I will be parlaying into the chutney business in the upcoming years. I have a 1-year-old son who we are taking to India next month, and we're very, very excited to take him home and to have him meet his family. And luckily this will not be his first introduction to Indian food, because the little man loves his naan and his gobi, and yeah, so far we're trying to introduce him to Indian food whenever we can. But Arun Magnus will be making a big trip next month, and it's very exciting. It's vastly important to me that he get to know his Indian heritage, and not just his Indian heritage, but also specifically his Parsi heritage, because that is a small and very specific community that he will not necessarily have exposure to anywhere else except in India. You can dress for the cold, you can't dress for the dark. So my advice to you is get warm clothes, get warm socks, get a hat and gloves, but also try to get outside during the day and get a sun lamp, because those help. Take your vitamin D, and if you can, just escape to India in the winter months.